Hey, it's Tony is right. I'm here to show you my final book. Yeah, my final portfolio book, or some of the aspects of making it. So I got my grades and I passed my classes. I'm so happy about that. So I passed my classes, and I really think for my poetry and memoir, what set it off was that I feel like I did aim. So whenever I turn in a portfolio, this is a theme for me, is that the poems that I submit are they just get totally reconstructed, right? So I edit it a lot, and I don't want to be editing it to the last minute, to be honest, like the day before or the day of, but I take time to go through and read it, edit it, read it, edit it. I do that 3 or 4 times, and yeah, I feel like I tried to really make strong work this semester. And then for my portfolio class, I also passed. I passed with the same grade, an A. I was very surprised because everything was so late. But my final book, I tried. I really tried. I was mad as hell at how it turned out, but I did try. That's all you can do is try. Let me get some water. Hold on. Sorry, guys. So I turned, yeah, so I'm really happy about those. I was looking at the grades. I was like, whew. I was really nervous, especially about the publication software one, the software course that we took. I was like, oh my God, will I pass? But I passed. So yeah, I'm gonna show you my final portfolio. Now these are my final pieces. However, I am so upset because neither one of these are formatted correctly, and even my final book wasn't formatted correctly. So the final project for the software class that I had, where we were learning Adobe Suite, and we had exercises about Photoshop and Illustrator and stuff like that. So we were building up to a final portfolio, which technically was a book. It was a chapbook. So it helps us because we're learning about Illustrator, InDesign, Photoshop, and we're merging all of those to this chapbook. And it also helps us because our thesis year, we will be designing our own book. It's not that we're just turning in our thesis and calling it a day. We are designing a book that we will sell, right? Have for purchase and stuff like that. So I have already self-published a book, and I put it on Amazon years ago, nearing 10 years ago. It's 7-ish years ago, close to 7 years ago, but almost nearing a decade ago. So I didn't use Adobe for that. I was on Amazon. I did use the Amazon, what was the press before? It was some press that they eliminated, and it's not Kindle, but it was their, I don't know what their publishing thing was. It wasn't KDP Publishing Direct. It was another name before. Anyway, I published that book, and it's been a decade almost since I've done any sort of publishing of any kind. So I was kind of rusty because it's been a decade since I attempted the first degree, which was graphic design-esque. So it was a struggle. But essentially, this book, I had to produce it pretty much any size that I personally wanted. We had to put 4 poems at least and 1 prose piece together, and we could find other works that we wanted to put in there, or it could be our own work. And I decided to make my own because it makes more sense, because eventually I'm going to have to make my own as a thesis book. So basically we did that for the entire semester, but we were building up with homework assignments and stuff like that. Cool. So I decided first on the size, and the size that I chose was 8 by 8. you could make it a square book. So a lot of people chose like 5x7 or 6x9. I chose 8x8, and I'm glad that I chose 8x8 because the way that the formatting was and the story was, like the way that the book was, it suited it that size. So essentially what would happen is we had to set up the documents in the file so that it would look like this, right? So this is 2 8x8 pages put together, right? And then you would print out the, hold it up close. You would make it so the printer marks, all of those marks would be there, the little cut marks, all of these things, and it was formatted so that it should be like that. Cool. So I have 40 pages. 40 pages of work. That was my chapbook size. So what I did was, for the project, I named it. I had a PDF. You had to save, you had to package it, you had to export it, you had to do all that. I did all that. So I had an idea first that I did, and it looked like a science textbook, and I hated that. So I was like, I can't do this. So I reformatted it. And so the name of my like chapbook was called Dark Matters. Prose and Poetry, that's my name. And then, like, hold on. So I formatted the back. This is not really what it looked like when I submitted, but yeah, this is me. And so, yeah, like I did that. I wrote like a little blurb. Then I wrote this about myself, a photo, a printing press kind of name, and then like put in barcodes and stuff like that, like to make it look like a book, because we're going to have to make it a book. So this is the cover. This is photography that I took of my hands from several years ago, and this is the final like cover. So we had to make a cover document and the inside document, but this is the cover and this is what it looks like. The cover came out fine. It was just everything else that was just like, damn. So that's what it looks like. That's the whole, this is a proof. So that's what that is. And then you're supposed to open it and have space, and copyright would be here, and then this is the next thing, right? So we had to have a table we had to choose what front matter we wanted. So I chose table of contents. I think I did dedication, all this kind of stuff. So this is how it was supposed to be. I had a whole bunch of stuff, but yeah, dedication, title, like half title page, and then this was supposed to be a full bleed, and then it did print out right, and then I formatted stuff, and it was just a mess. But it taught me that I really do have, I feel like, an eye for design and an eye for like publishing, and I am happy that I did. So this is prose. I ended up being like a little bit of an overachiever. I had a prose, poetry, and I had a commentary like section, and yeah. So what ended up happening is you have to put like 5 visual elements. So I use glyphs for some of my visual elements, and I use a lot of photography. Some of the lessons we had was learning how to do text wrap. So meaning that, like, you know how in magazines there's like text and then there's like a picture and the text goes around it? That's text wrapping, and there's an actual like way that you can do that in not Photoshop, in InDesign, maybe in Photoshop too, but I'm trying to show you. But it's so like, so this, right, learning to format it like this. So formatting it, and then I had a lot of like fun with this. I did not like the formatting and printing process, not at all. I just was very annoyed with it. I spent over $100 printing this out, right? I spent over $100 fucking dollars printing this out, and it did not go well. And I was just like, yo, like what? Like I printed at the school, it was like 50 bucks almost. Then I printed at Staples, it was like 80 something bucks, and it still wasn't correct either way. Sorry, it still wasn't correct either way. And I was just like, oh my god, like what the hell? So I personally would, if you're doing any sort of publishing type work, I would do it on a very expanded timeline. That's my advice. But it taught me things. It just taught me things about making it. So learning about spacing, learning that maybe I should put the margins when it's dealing with the inside of the book a little bit more, making a lot of guides, making sure that I had things that are aligned, text aligned, making sure that I paid attention to that stuff, and I tried to pay attention to that stuff. I tried to do the letting and kerning as best as possible. It was stuff like this that kind of got messed up, and if you can see, that's my visual element right there, the little moon. That's a glyph. So I learned how to put that on there. You know, we were helping each other as students, because I was like, oh my god, I don't know what's going on. These are old covers. And then finding I had a lot of full bleeds in my book that weren't full bleeds when they printed out. But I decided to format it, do the best I could. I had a lot of photos, a lot of full bleeds. I had a lot of on the more negative side, sad side, I had a lot of orphans and widows, which is just like paragraphs that look like this. You see where this is to come right there? And it's just like 2 words. Theoretically, you shouldn't have just those 2 words. It should be like kind of a neater paragraph than that. But it was like the way that I was doing the letting and kerning, it was giving me enough space, but I ended up, that was the sacrifice, right? When I bumped up the letting, it would format it all effed up, and then I would just have to, I was just like, I can't do this. I tried to take pride in all of the stuff that I was doing. So this is the full bleed that I am so proud of. This is the one. It's for a poem that I wrote. I am so happy about this. And this one, when it didn't print out the way that it was supposed to, really hurt me. Like, this one really, really hurt. Because I really liked this. I formatted this, and I just like, I loved it. And then like table of contents and stuff like that. So this is these are basically the elements of my final book that like came together or whatever. And that's just like front matter and whatnot. And then this is my commentary section. Which is like these pieces ended up, it's like they printed out right, but not like, I don't know. It was just something about it. They didn't print out well, but they did. But they printed out well, you know? And so what has come out of this, I essentially am interested in like publishing and all that jazz. I definitely will kind of have to work my way back, because how it printed out, I was very confused how I would make a book out of that. So I gotta learn how to format it so that it comes out the way that I want it to. Because essentially the printer, you can put the document in, but the printer has to then rearrange all the pages so that it comes out looking like a booklet. So you do page 1 through 10 on your like InDesign document. That's cool, but if you want to make it a book that's formatted with like extra pages and stuff like that, like you have to fiddle with the formatting so that it comes out that way that you want it, right? Like if you want a blank page, front and back, right? Blank page, and then like the next page say something, and then the next page be like blank, and then another page that says something. You're gonna have to format it in InDesign or the printer to get it the way that you want it, right? And it has to rearrange the pages so that it goes in that order. And that was the one thing that was very frustrating to me with doing this, because it formatted it, but it didn't quite hit the mark, right? Like this is supposed to be a full bleed. My final portfolio was kind of like this. It was almost like I needed to add an additional like page or two to the document, but it had to be divisible by 4. She was saying like the number has to be divisible by 4. So it was almost like I needed additional pages in there so that it would switch it and make it full bleed, the full bleed pages, the full bleed, and go in the order that I wanted. But I have to work on how to do that. So I ended up with stuff like that, where like the full bleed page gets cut in half, and then you see it later on. In this version, the final version, it was not that bad. It was just like the bleed followed one after the other. So like if this page was this, the next page would be like this part. So it wasn't like it was like this. This is Staples, by the way. So all in all, I'm happy with like the process now that I like am away from it, because before I was just like not feeling that shit. I was just so mad and so upset because I had spent all this money, and at the end of the day, like I like didn't get what I wanted, and I felt like my grade was gonna be like terribly affected by it. And I mean, it wasn't, but like if it had been, I would have been so like sad. I would have known that that was part of the reason. So yeah. So I'm gonna try and experiment, I think, in the future with making these things. So maybe over the summer I'll like challenge myself to make like another chapbook or something like that. I said I wasn't gonna do that, but maybe I should, because the next class I have is like about typography, and we're gonna have to come up with our own type, I think. And like I just want to be on top of my shit. You know, the first year wasn't shitty, but like a lot of stuff just happened out of left field that like just left me really like sad, and just like emotionally drained and empty. And second year I hope is a little bit better on that front, but I know that the year is flying by so fast. This year, like physical 2024 year, is flying by so fast, but like this degree program is flying by so fast. I'm already in my second year. Like I'm in my second year of my MFA program, and I feel like I just started last month, and I didn't, but I feel like I just started last month, and I'm already a year 2. Before you know it, I'm gonna be like a thesis year, and I'm gonna be like, what the hell, like what happened? So I gotta embrace it. Yeah. Okay, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. How have you worked on your thesis or any of your writing projects? Let me know down below. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.